from Undertow, which follows the life of Maggie Ambrose, a 56-year-old career politician who plans to run for president in 2024. To kick off her presidential bid and introduce herself to the masses, she's writing a revealing memoir. Her publisher insists she divulge more than her political pedigree to gain the nation's attention, but Maggie's not eager to confess the details of her challenging childhood, complex familial relationships, or her failed first marriage. This excerpt's from chapter 17. It describes what happens a few months before Maggie wins her first election for the Massachusetts House of Representatives 10th District seat in 1997. So long before she starts the campaign to run for the presidency. She's spending time with her new friend Helen, who eventually becomes her wife. And during this section, Maggie's curious about her friend and wants to know her better. They're taking a walk at Kings Beach, which is in Lynn, Massachusetts. And I have just a couple of notes. One, there's a song for Lynn, which is Lynn, Lynn, City of Sin. You never come out the same way you came in. Look it up, it's real. Also, this was published in September 2020, so it doesn't talk about COVID at all, which is kind of weird because the election's in 2024, but that's the way it rolled out. Third, Maggie and Helen are both attorneys. And 4, if you hear a Boston accent, it's for dramatic effect only. It has nothing to do with the fact that I'm from there. I know what you're thinking. Helen's teasing tone broke through Maggie's musings. Maggie looked at Helen, eyebrows raised. Is that right? They were passing the top of Red Rock Park, the waves slapping at the seawall with each surge. Yes, it is. Helen linked her arm in Maggie's, her stride slowing to match her amble. You were wondering whether I'm in a relationship. For all you know, I could be married with 4 kids. Maggie's body jackknifed as laughter overtook her, dragging them both to a halt in the middle of the walkway. I'm sorry. She saw the miffed look on Helen's face and fought to control her laughter, waving her hands in a clearing motion. It's just, the image of 4 mini Helens running underfoot is hilarious. God, can you imagine debating all the reasons why the bedroom should not be cleaned? I bet a kid of yours not only could, but would enumerate them from strongest to weakest points. Maggie and Helen climbed a concrete staircase and stopped to lean against the railing overlooking the ocean. Maggie shifted to face her. So, tell me, are you married? Dating someone? Are you a mom? Helen rolled her shoulder and lifted her chin before meeting Maggie's gaze. No, kids. I'm not with anyone right now. My last relationship crashed and burned about 5 months ago when I found myself thinking about someone else. It wasn't fair to her, and although it's quite possible I won't ever be with that person, I knew it was the right thing to do. The word her seemed to hang in the air between them as though highlighted in bright yellow. Maggie glanced at Helen and was startled by the fear and insecurity she saw. Drawing herself up to her full height, shoulders back and lips pressed in a straight line, Maggie tried to control her anger. She narrowed her eyes. Do you think I'm prejudiced? Helen's eyebrows lowered enough to create a furrow between them. What? Do you think it makes a difference to me that you date women? I mean, have I ever given you that impression? Because that's the only reason I can think of for why you never trusted me enough to confide in me before now. Maggie broke their stare to watch a seagull careen through the air. Maggie, be realistic. People don't always react well when they realize a person's gay. Sometimes people pretend to be okay with it, but they become distant and suddenly they're too busy to meet. One day you wake up and realize the relationship has disappeared. And I'm not saying you do that, but we're still getting to know one another. Understanding flooded through Maggie. Helen's reticence had nothing to do with her. Nah, I know the real reason you never told me. At Helen's confused look, Maggie allowed a smirk to surface. You were afraid I'd guess your big secret. I'm the one you're thinking of all the time. Maggie brought her hand to her chest, fluttering her eyelashes several times. You're in love with me. She laughed when Helen shoved her away, a scowl on her face. It's okay, Helen, I get it. After all, I'm quite the catch. Yeah, right. As if I'd want to be with a pushover. Pushover? I'm no pushover. I'm flexible. Easy going. Besides, someone who argues all the time is contrary. She shrugged. Totally unnecessary. I'm a great city solicitor because I know how to negotiate instead of fighting for everything. Tell me this. When's the last time you made an important decision because you wanted it, not someone else? Do you even want to run for office, or is that a leftover idea from the previous time? Those are good questions. I do want to run for office, even though it wasn't originally my idea either time. This campaign is different for many reasons. I have a better understanding of what I'm doing. I want to make our community better for others. And I've worked on this campaign every step of the way, developing my campaign platform and arranging to meet people in the community. The last campaign was spoon-fed to me. I was told what to advocate and where to be. That's not true this time. Maggie indicated the ocean, listening to the roar of the waves. Although I learned as a kid it was safer for me to go with the flow, sometimes it didn't work out. Sometimes the undertow was dangerous, and I wasn't prepared to deal with the competing push and pull I found myself in. Sometimes I nearly drowned. That's how I felt while I was married. What you categorize as a pushover, I believed, was a necessary course for survival. Leaving that relationship and cutting ties with all that was associated with it was probably the first time I swam against the tide. Since then, I've made more decisions based on what I want, and I'll admit it's hard for me. I'm not like you. I don't grab life by the horns and wrangle it into submission. But I'm no longer the girl who floats on top of the waves, following wherever the tide moves. Helen threw up her hands and exhaled loudly. Well, great. That was the last roadblock to not falling for you. Now what am I going to do? She pointed at Maggie. You need to tell me something horrible about yourself. It's for the good of our relationship. Yeah, no. You're out of luck. Because I'm the epitome of a perfect woman.